Hi everyone, welcome back in another project video where we're going to be creating this product page in React. So we're going to create this amazing and simple project from scratch and we're going to learn a lot of things from creating that. The first thing that we're going to be learning is how to be able to first create the whole design. That's the first element. But also we're going to use how to use the context API because we're going to use it to share data and information across all those child components, but also we're going to use the swiper library so we can be able to swipe those images. So we're going to learn that. And also we're going to be creating, sorry, the my PC is a little bit slow, so it's taking a little bit of time to reload. But also we are going to create this those images to track the images above. And this, for this case, we're going to be the swiping function is going to be manually, so we're going to be learning that, but also we're going to be learning how to create those reviews. And one last thing that I want to show you, that this page is fully dynamic and it's going to be responsive also for the phone screens. So here, as you can see, it is completely dynamic. So all the information are available here and it is adapting to the screen. And also what we are going to be learning how to create those colors. As you can see, we can select them, but also for the sizes. And we're going to be creating this show more button to be able to show all the description. And also the review here is fully dynamic here because of the swiper library. So we're going to learn a ton of those. We're going to learn a lot of things here. So if you want to, hi everyone, welcome back. So here we are in our Visual Studio Code. And to start, I just created the product page folder and we're having those two files, the product page component, the main component, and also we are going to use the CSS to style our project. And here it is. It is totally empty for now. And make sure to import the CSS file so you can be able to make the styling applied. And also one thing that I'm going to do here, instead of using props, because we are going to use a lot of inner components, we're going to use the context API. So to make sure that we're not having any problems later on. And don't worry, I'm going to explain everything step by step, how it is working, how to create your custom context API. So that's our custom context API. So the first thing that you must do, you need to create a new file. So I called it page context API.js. So what we're doing here, we are first creating our context and we are assigning it to the page context, which we are going to use here. But the first thing that you need to do, you need to create a new function, context provider, with the children prop. And here we are setting our initial values or variable states since we are going to use a product page. So we are going to create a product variable state and we are going to add later on information here. And here we are using the page context object provider, and we are going to share here all the values that we are going to add here. So every time we add a new variable, so we are going to add it inside the value here so other child components can use it. So also here we are creating a custom hook so you can be able to consume this page context inside other inner components. And also we are exporting those two elements here and make sure to use the context provider that we exported. So it's going to be imported here in our root file of our project and it's going to be, and the product page, it's going to be the child of the context provider. So we can be able to use all those values here inside the inner components inside the product page. So it might seem a little bit complicated first, but once you use this over and over again, then you will get used to that and you will be able to understand how it is working. And in order to show you how we can be able to use our context provider, so the first thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to show you the product object. And here is, as you can see, we have a lot of information because I want to make sure that it's real as much as I can. And this is what is used in the WooCommerce REST API. So we're going to rely on this to be able to show these information inside our product page. Let's go back to our page context API. And as you can see here, I added a little bit of code. So what we're doing here, basically, we're just simulating the data fetching by using the set timeout function. So after 2000 milliseconds, we are going to change our product data state variable. And also, I'm going to show you how you can be able to use the context provider so you can be able to access to the shared value, which are right now at this moment product data and set product data. And also, in order to show you that it is working correctly, everything is working correctly, I'm going to log out the product data. I'm going to save the file, go back to the browser again, and I'm going to reload the page. And we are going to see the same result here. And we are waiting a little bit, and then we're having our product here. The reason why we are waiting because of the set timeout function. So everything is working fine right now. And this is the advantage of using the context API. So when we are going to create other child components, we don't have to use props. All we need to do is to use context provider, this custom hook, to access to the same data shared between across all those components. So that's where the advantage of using the context API. Next, we added some components here. So I created components, and also what I did here inside the product page root class name, which is the root div of the product page component. What I did is I divided the page top and bottom. So for the top, I added those two components, and for the bottom, here is its own component, and those components lives here inside the components folder, as you can see here. So for each one, like the product page, we are returning just a text product images because I'm going to show you how it is looking so far, just to be able to organize stuff and to have this initial backbone of the project of the page so we can be able to rely on and fill in information to have our product page. So for the CSS styling, so I'm not going to go into deeply into this. Actually, you will find the code in my website if you want to, but it's a good thing to follow along with me to be able to really understand how this is working. So here is our initial structure, how it is looking. So of course, it's not going to be like this, but it's a good thing to do to first make things organized before you do anything. So for every component, like for the product, like I'm going to go back to the code here. For the product images component, here is its place, and the same for the product information. We're going to add all the items here. And for the reviews product, here is its place. So like working like that is it's a lot cleaner and a lot structured. And it's going to help us to really create clean code, but also to stay organized. And when something bad happens, it's going to be very easy to find it. So here our product info component, how it is looking so far. So it is looking pretty simple and neat. And I'm going to go back to our Visual Studio Code, and here is the body of it. So I'm going to go quickly through it to explain each part. So we're having the product name, and also I'm adding some comments for readability. So here it is the rating. So I'm using the rating external component from the MUI library. And to be able to save up a little bit of time and not create the one by myself because it's going to take time. So it's just about time saving. Also, I'm adding the product rating here, the text of it. So we're adding the price, and also we're adding the shipping part here. And here we're adding the colors. And for the colors, we're going to be creating a function to make it dynamic. So here it's just kind of a template, but normally we need to make it dynamic based on the colors attributes here. So for example, sorry, here. For example, if we had another color here, we need to have it automatically here, and the colors need to change based on the text. And we are going to do the same for the size. So let's go back to the product info component and the same for the size. We wanted to make it dynamic. And finally, we have the card button. So for the CSS, I'm not going to go deeply into it because it's pretty simple. But the thing that I'm going to point out is this. In order to make the page dynamic, I'm using the media query in the CSS to make it like this. So So I'm going to go back to the product info.css. I'm going to show you what I did here. So I'm using this media query and the max width is going to be 800 pixels. So under the 800 pixels, sorry. So we're going to change the element, the root element of the CSS, which is the product info root, to the width here. It's going to be 100% because initially it was 40%. And for the product info page, which has the two components, we're going to change the flex direction to colon so that the two components are at the top of each other. And also the width is going to be 100%. And the align items is going to be centered, meaning that the items they're going to be centered vertically. So that's what we did so far with the product info. And probably I'm going to add the description here. And also I'm going to create this function that I talked about it, which is making the colors and the sizes dynamic based on the product attributes object. So the component info is almost completed and our product page start taking a bit of shape. And first I'm going to go over the thing that I just created. Like for the colors, as you can see, we're having those three colors. We aren't having anymore those three boxes. So we kind of converting those icons or those colors here from text to UI elements. So I'm going to show you how to be able to do this, but also it's the same for the size because we're having those sizes here. So they are the same here. And also we are going to create this kind of show more button here to show the whole description. If it is a little bit longer, it's going to be cut off, but you have this option to show it if you want. So we're going to work on so we're gonna work on all of those things, and I'm gonna show you how to be able to do it step by step. Here in the product info component, we're going to be starting with the colors component. So here, as you can see, we're just having the colors line. And where is it, the whole color? Because this, I'm just calling it as an external component because I knew that we're gonna have a lot of code. So that's why I made it that way to make the code much readable. So let's start first over from the bottom from the colors function. So we're having the first line, we're having this product data, we're calling it from the context provider. And that's the advantage of using the context API. So we're not using props here. And also I'm creating the dust color exists and I'm setting it to false because it's going to be true or false depending on whether this object exists inside the attributes. So we need to do some check-ins before using those elements. Otherwise, we're going to have some problems later on. And also I'm creating all products color. And this it's going to be an object of areas that we're going to rely on to show those items here. So to show those colors here. And here we are creating the kind of table that we are going to use in order to match the colors that we're having in the products object and also the colors here. And also we can be able to extract those codes so to use them into our styling. And also one thing that you need to make sure that you're doing, otherwise you will run into some problems and you will have kind of undefined element because we are using a fake fetching. We need to use the use effect hook and it's going to be only triggered when the product data is loaded. So if you do this outside the use effect, you will have the undefined and you're not going to be able to, that's going to not, you're not going to be able to show the page, the thing that you want or your results. So the first thing that we're doing here, we are checking if the product's data that attributes is existing. Because as we said, it's going to take about 2 seconds and we are saying basically do all of those things when the product data is available. So if this exists, we're going to check if the color attribute is existing. So we're using the sum function. And here we are assigning the does color. And if the color exists, we are going to assign it to true. And then we are going to change the does color exists state variable to true again. And let's move on. So if the does exist is true, then we are going to get the index of let's go over our product object. So we're gonna get the index of this object because we are inside the attributes array. So we're getting the index and we are checking this condition, meaning if the index is -1, it means that it is existing because since it is 1, because it is at the second position and the indexes always start with 0, then we are going to get the whole object or we are going to get the array, which is this. That's why we're mentioning the options property here. And if the length is bigger than 0, because we could have this array empty. So we need to check if it is not empty. And then we are going to use the map function to be able to create this new object. And here we are using the isSelected property because that's what we are going to rely on to know whether we selected the colors here. So we are going to go over this later on, and we are doing this to be able to check the first element as true, and then we are assigning it to the all products color. We are changing its state. So here I'm using just a log to see if everything was working fine. So here in this part, what we are doing, we are updating our objects of array with the code colors that we're having here. So as you may notice here, we are using this function inside the set all products color. And because we all know the asynchronous nature of React and able to really get the immediate result, we need to put it inside the set all colors, all products colors. Otherwise, you won't have the expected results. So bear with me here because it's a little bit tricky, and I'll be honest with you, it took me a little bit some time to figure that out. So I'm going to do my best to explain this. So the first thing that we are doing, as I left in the comments here, so we are going to get the colors that we're having here between. So we're gonna get the matched colors between these colors saved and the objects option of the color object here. So we are going to, so let's go back here. So we're going to do this. So what we're doing here, we are using the sum function to only return the true elements inside the colors found object. And that's the condition that we are going to rely on. So once we get the matched color, like for example, here we're having those three colors, and here we're having four colors. So what we are doing here, we're just getting those three elements and we are saving them here. So the next step, we need to extract those code colors here. So this is where this little code will help us. So what we're doing, we're mapping through the colors that we found or that we're having. And also what we're doing, we're using this colors found here that we just found, and we are going to find the colors because based on it, we are going to change the code. If the code color is true, we are going to extract the code color from the property of the object from the objects by using the code color property, and we are using the spread operator of the single element, meaning that all those other properties are going to be set here inside this object here. And finally, we're going to return the final colors here. So I'm going to show you how it is looking into the log to be able to really understand what we just did here. That's why I left the logs there. So I'm gonna clean that up, and I'm gonna reload the page again to see our results. Just for a moment, please. So here, so because of the fetching time, we're not having the results immediately, and then things get slowed up. So the color objects here, so we're having it first empty, and as you can see here, the is selected is true, and then, and that's for the size is the same for the size. So the log, the other log is not, probably I just removed to show you the all products here. So I'm gonna do this again to show you how it's gonna, how the final object or the area of objects it's gonna look like. I'm gonna reload the page again to see what we are going to have at the final area of objects here. Just stick with me for a second, please. So we're gonna see this for some time here, and as you can see for all products color here, we're having all of them. For each color, we're having its own color based on the color saved area, and the selection, it's going to change. Like for example, here, we're going to see through here into the blue, and the same for the size. So the selection is going to be changed into the third position. Speaking about the size, I'm going to explain what I did in order to be able to create this area of sizes. It's kind of the same elements or the same logic. But just sorry for a moment before we go move into it. So I need to explain a little bit of what we've done here into the return object just briefly. So here we are using this condition only. We are going to render the the, those divs if the colors, all products colors length is more than 0, meaning that we have something into the options area and the does color exists. So here we are using the all products colors array to be able to map through to be able to render this. And we are using this turning operator into the opacity object or property to be able to show, to be able to know which one was selected based on the opacity. Like for this one, because it is selected, the opacity of it is 1. So when this is selected, because its property is selected is true, its opacity it's going to be 1, and the other ones it's going to be true. And also, this is the algorithm that I created to be able to do this. So as we are doing the same thing here inside the set all products color, I'm doing the change here to be able to get the selected color as opacity of 1. So that's what we're having here for the colors. And I was going to talk about the size. So I'm going to go up a little bit because I think the function is above the color. Yes, we're having it here. So as you can see, we're doing the kind of the same thing. The only difference, we're not going to do any matching. So we are calling the product data from the context API. So we're setting the all sizes state variable. It's an array because it's going to be an object of an array of objects. And also we're doing the same thing with the does exist, size exists. And also we are doing some check-ins like we did. We are creating our objects of array, and also we are doing the same thing for changing the opacity. So when we click on this, we're going to go into this function and it's going to happen the same that we did for the colors. We're going to change the opacity based on this condition. And in the description, I'm going to show you how I was able to create this show more button. So I decided to create it inside the product info component because I knew it's not going to take a lot of code to be able to create it. And also I didn't want to use an external function. So here what I did, I created those states. So the short description to get the description inside the product object, but also we're having the link, so we are gonna know why we did this. But also we are using the show more toggle to toggle between the up and down. When we click on the button here, it's gonna move down. And also as you can see, the icon change because based on this variable state, we're gonna be able to do this. And here As I explained, I'm using the same principle. I'm using the use effect and the dependency array, which is the product data, because we're having a fetching time. So only if the product or the short description we're having it, then we are going to change those variables here, those state variables. So first we're getting the length, and also we're getting the description to be able to show it into our body. And also I'm gonna show you what I did here into the body to be able to recreate that. So let's go over our description part here. So as you can see, we're having the height, and the height it's going to be, so I created this. I don't know if it's exact equation to do so, to be able to have this, the height is equal to the to the length of the text, but it is working. So based on the show more toggle variable, so if it is true, meaning that if it is opened, the height it's gonna be like this, and otherwise it's gonna go to the normal, which is 70 pixel. So also we're using here the short description length as a condition to be able to show the this button here. Because probably the description is very short, so we don't have this button here. So that's why I did this condition here. And also we are relying on the show more toggle to be able to change, to swipe between those icons from the font awesome icon. So I showed you this. So when I click, sorry, when I click on this, the icon is going to change to up, and it's going to go back to this object. And also I'm going to show you something very, very quickly into the CSS, how I was able to do this for this description. So the first thing that I did, I created another container. Um, I'm not using the I'm not using the root container, which is this product info description, but I'm creating another container. And here I'm using the overflow hidden to be able to hidden the excess of the text, and the height is going to be 100% following the height of its root container. And we're adding this transition, adding this line to be able to have this cool transition here. So if you're having some problems to understand how this code is working, I want to just remind you that the code is going to be in my website, and you can go over there to check it out if you want. So that's basically our component, our product info component. I'm going to start working on this component, the images component, and we're going to add some slide there. I'm going to use the Swiper.js library to be able to show this and to save up a little bit of time. So I just added those images here by using the Swiper.js library. And as you can see right now, the page looks more professional and clean. And also we are doing another one here to be able to track the images. So I'm going to show you how it is working. Like when I click this, I'm transitioning between all of those images, but also this changes as well. So we're going to program all of that. And also I did some modifications here. So I created a function to be able to calculate this, but also I made this as disabled. Um, and that's it. So let's start explaining how I was able to do this. So the first step that you need to do, you need to go to the website, the Swiper website, and that's the link. And also head over the slides preview and then click on React since we're using React, and this page is going to open up. So this is just the boilerplate code that I initially used. So you need to copy and paste it in your Visual Studio Code, but also make sure to copy the styling. So that's what I did initially here. And I'm gonna try to explain each thing here step by step, and I'm gonna do my best. So let's close this to be able to see our whole code. So the first thing that I did here, I just imported the product data by using the use context provider. So I'm creating some variable states, and as you can see, for each element I'm adding some comments to not be lost. So what I'm using here, I'm using those three variables. So the all products images, you can be able to store those images from the product component here. So, and also one thing that I want to show you that I forgot is those images. That's the images. Sorry for that. That's for the images. So we're having here three objects, and just for this situation, normally the images need to be fetched and loaded up from the server. But for this case, I'm just using them internally, like locally, and I'm going to show you how to be able to do that step by step. So let's go to the, sorry, let's go to our structure here. And what I did here, let's close this. So open up the public folder, and those are the images. So make sure to add them into the public folder. And then you can use just put the name of the file that you want to use, because that's what we are going to use inside the image tag. So let's go back to our product images here, and let's continue. So as I did for the old components, since we are creating kind of fake fetching, so we need to make sure that the product data is fully loaded before we can use it. So that's why we're doing this condition. So we are just creating an empty array so we can be able to store all the images inside it based on the objects that we're having here. We're doing a condition if the source is existing, like here, then we can be able to add those items inside the array. So we are doing some check-ins first before we can store them in this array. And then we are updating this all products images variable state. And also we are using another use effect, and this time for the select active index, because what we're doing here, we are like, I'm gonna go back to our browser. Like when clicking here, what we're doing, we are using the handle event listener, and based on that, we are going to change the index. So that's what we're doing. And that's why we are using the onSlide change. That's a built-in event listener inside the slider or the swiper library. So we're using the handle onSlide image, onSlide change function, so we can be able to get the index that we are currently in, and then we are updating the selected image index. And here in our body, we're using the map function to be able to render all the products or the images that we are having inside the all products images here. And also we're using the source property to be able to show those images inside the image tag. And also, as you can see here, we are passing down all of those prompts inside the all product images. And the all product images is this, all of those images here. So we need to create this kind of link between the first component, which is the swiper, and the all products images, because like here, to be able to create this, when I click on this, for example, we are getting the index and we are passing it up to the swiper element here to be able to show these images, and the same for if we do this. So we're just exchanging information and data between those two components, how we are using the components or the props here to be able to do so. Here in the all product images function, the first thing that you need to do in order to be able to use those props, you need to use them. And also, as you can see, we have a bunch of code here. That's for handling the swipe in function. So I created it manually. So I'm not going to go deeply into this. I have a video for a project that I created, sorry. So I'm going to put the video on the card or into the description to be able to view that if you want. And then here in our body, first we are mapping through all of those elements that we're having here. And also we're using the image and the index, the image for the actual element and the index to be able to get the index that we clicked on, because that's what we are going to use. That's what we are going to use inside the function handle clicked image. So we're getting the index and we are changing the variable state, which is the selected active index, and we are passing it up to the parent component inside here. Because this selected active image we're using to be able to activate the image that we clicked on. Like for example, I'm going to show you here, like that's what's happening when I click on this. We're getting this index and we are passing it up inside the swiper. So I'm going to click that again. Sometimes it freezes. And what we're doing, we're passing up the zero index, which is the first element, to the parent component. And we are using here the slide to function. That's a built-in function inside the swiper library to be able to select the image that we want based on this index. And one last thing that I'm going to show you. Again, I really recommend to head over my website if you want to go over this code. I'm not able to explain all of that because that's going to make the video longer. So I'm just going through the most important elements. So here, as you can see, I'm adding this condition to be able to create this effect. Like for the active image, it's going to be like this, and the inactive images, we will have them like this. And also, I'm going to show you how I was able to create this discounted price. So inside our product images or product info component, sorry. So I added this is discounted variable state because we need a variable that we're going to rely on to whether we are going to show this or not, but also to be able to change the styling. So the first thing that I did, I need to check if it is a discounted price. So I created this function, and also we need to check if those objects here are existing. Those two elements are existing. So that's what we've done here. And then I'm converting the sale price to a number by using the parseInt function. And if the sale price number is true, then I'm going to say that there is a discount. So we are using this is discounted here inside our body to be able first to be able to show the sale price or not. And also I did some modifications here inside the divs here, but also to be able to do some styling here, like for example, this, it's going to be gray, but also we are going to have this through line here. And that's what we are doing here. And we're relying on the is discounted variable. Next, I created those cards for reviews. And I'm going to show you what I did here to be able to create them. So the first thing that I did here, I'm going to start with the review card template. So I created another component with its own CSS. So inside a folder, just for organization. So this is our review card template, this is our core component. So the first thing that I did, obviously I need some data, so I used the use context provider to get the product data from our custom AP, context API, sorry. And also what I'm doing here inside the use effect, I'm just checking if the reviews template, because I added it here inside our product object. So we're having an array of objects. Those are the reviews. So we're having the ID, the rating, the name, and the comment for each object. So we need first to check the reviews array, and also we're using the link to see if there is an object or not. Then we are going to update the reviews variable state. And of course, the dependency area is going to be product data because that's what we are going to depend upon to be able to use this code and also to update the reviews variable state. So here in our body. So this is the body for to render each card here. So initially what I did, I didn't start like this. First I created one by just using, and I didn't use dynamic information like the review.rating and .comment.name coming from the product coming from here. So the first thing that I did, I just created a normal template. Then I use the review.map function to be able to map through. It's like a for each. And what we're doing, we're just getting the information from each review element, and then we're passing them inside each div to be able to render them like this. And also one thing that I did inside the rating, so I added some of the stuff here because we're using again the rating MUI element like I did here. So also I did the same stuff for here to be able to be able to have the same color theme. So that's obviously what I did so far to be able to create that, but also I did some adjustments inside the CSS to do some corrections to be able to have this. And also one thing that I'm going to work on is I'm going to work on the slide in swiping function. So for this time, I'm not going to do the same that I did here. I'm going to use the swiper.js framework to be able to create this function for this. If we have, for example, 4, 5, 6 reviews to be able to swipe them left or right. So our product page is ready to use. So I'm going to show you. So now, because we have in 3 reviews, so you're not gonna see any difference. But for example, if I shrink the size, as you can see, we can swipe in or out those reviews by using the swiper library. So let's go back to our code to be able to explain what I did. So let's close this. And the first thing that I did, I created, I put the body of the each review card inside the single review product function because we are going to call it inside here, inside the swiper slider tag, built-in tag from the swiper library. And also one thing that I added here, I added those codes inside the use effect because we want to make the slides preview dynamic. So in order to be able to do so, we need to rely on the window object. So we need to get the width property. That's why we're using it. So we're using the inner width property here to access to the width of the window. And based on it, we are going to change the slides preview variable. So if it is 800 pixel under it, so the slider preview is going to be 1, and then it's going to be changed inside here. And that's pretty much what I did. See, the only challenging thing that I faced, and that's something that I don't know what was happening. Like here, when normally the width need to be 100%, but if when I do so, the the width like goes to the right infinitely. So I had to use the pixel here to be able to fix it, but it was quite challenging to be able to adjust this. So right now we're having this product page ready to use, as I said. So it was quite challenging, and there is a little bit of work to be able to do so, but it's a good thing. And also a lot of things that I didn't create here, like tags and categories, but you get the point. The most important thing is how to be able to create a whole product page. Those things you can create them later on because they are not difficult. As you can see, building a product page takes a little bit of work and it can be a lot challenging for many of us. But tackling that's going to help you to learn a lot, and that we've done in this video. So if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and also hit the notification button to be notified whenever I release a video like this so you can be able to amp up your skills. And also leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think about this video. And again, if you want to access to the code, you can head down to the description below and there is a link there. Click on it to be able to access to the website and then you can find the code there. So thank you again for watching this video and I'll see you soon in the next one.